I love Marcus, but it is like loving a seatbelt. Safe, useful, not something you build dreams around.
The man heard his own wife describe their marriage as a waiting room she was planning to leave. Why did he bring flowers that day? Stay until the end. You will understand everything. To understand this, we have to go back to a Friday afternoon in November. My name is Marcus Townsend. I am 44 years old, and for most of my life, I held one belief so simple that I never thought to examine it. I managed logistics coordination at a freight depot near the airport. Honest work, consistent hours, the kind of job that runs on precision and showing up. In the evenings, I restored my late father's 1969 Mustang Mach 1. It was never really about the car. It was about finishing what he started.
If you show up every day and keep your word, the right people notice.
Desiree had ambition the way some people have a second language, fluently, without effort. She built a branding consultancy called the Renard Collective from our spare bedroom.
I loved her. The real kind. The kind where you know someone's fears and stay.
What I did not know was that for over a year, my wife had been building a second life alongside ours, with the patience of someone waiting to execute a decision. That Friday in November, I bought sunflowers from the market and drove to the airport. She had texted me not to come. I was already on the road.
She texted me not to come, but I was already on the road.
I found Carousel 4. Desiree was standing with Opal. Their heads were bent close together. Her posture was different, looser, unguarded. The posture of someone certain that no one important was nearby. Something in my chest registered the difference before my mind did. I stepped behind a concrete column, opened the voice memo app, and pressed record.
I love Marcus, but it is like loving a seatbelt. Safe, useful, not something you build dreams around. I stay for the credit score, the house. Once the business hits 12 months, I am gone. Weston understands me. He makes me feel like I actually exist. Marcus still thinks the whole trip was Denver. He does not even suspect.
I looked down at the sunflowers in my hand. 9 years of showing up. 9 years reduced to a financial arrangement with a departure date already chosen. I set the flowers gently against the base of the column. Then I pressed stop, put the phone in my pocket, and walked out the way I had come in. No one looked at me twice. A man carrying nothing, moving at a normal pace through an airport on a Friday afternoon. Invisible in the way steady men often are. On the drive home, the rain fell lightly and without hurry. I did not turn on the radio. The windshield wipers kept their own patient rhythm.
So you have been planning this for a long time.
Every reassuring memory had become a question. Every warm moment had become evidence to re-examine. And you still have to set the table and say the right things. When Desiree came through the door 40 minutes later, I asked how Denver was. She answered fluently and convincingly, with the easy details of a story rehearsed until it became memory.
Denver was exhausting. Back-to-back meetings. I am glad to be home.
I am glad you are home.
That night, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor. Not breaking, processing, learning what it feels like when the photograph finally develops. In the garage, I opened my father's old composition notebook and wrote everything down. Dates, amounts, patterns, 3 pages. Then I put the pen down and sat with it.
Every warm memory becomes a question. Every kind moment becomes evidence to re-examine.
3 days later, I found the laptop, the one Desiree swore had stopped working months ago. It was on the top shelf of the hall closet, hidden behind winter scarves. It powered on without difficulty. Inside a folder, I found archived messages between Desiree and Opal, going back more than a year. I photographed every screen the way Howard would later instruct me to. Near the bottom of a thread dated 14 months earlier, Opal had written a real warning. Do not do Marcus like this. He has always been good to you.
Opal had warned her 14 months ago, and Desiree told her to stay in her lane.
Behind a jewelry pouch in the nightstand drawer, I found a small black USB drive. On it were scanned copies of my father's trust documents. The spousal clause was highlighted in yellow.
The trust documents, the spousal clause highlighted in yellow. A working legal strategy.
I stood in the garage with my hands in my pockets and looked at the Mustang for a long time. I did not know that this one discovery would change how I moved through every room that followed.
6 weeks ago, a preliminary motion was filed. The petitioner is Desiree Townsend. She tested the door. When it did not open, she withdrew and recalibrated. Document everything. Do not move anything. But if it is in front of you, photograph it.
I sat in my truck in the parking lot of a fast food restaurant for 11 minutes without starting the engine. Then I drove home and smiled at my wife over dinner. That evening, I took the composition notebook to the garage and filled 3 more pages. Dates, dollar amounts, patterns. A man building a case the way his father built things, without shortcuts.
I had everything. Dates, amounts, patterns. How do we move?
The night I placed that folder on the kitchen table was the night everything Desiree had carefully built began to come apart.
What is that?
Sit down. Please.
Clarity is more powerful than volume. You do not need to be loud to be heard completely. You only need to be precise and willing to let each piece speak.
$22,000 moved from our joint account over 29 months. A hotel on West 4th Street. 2 nights. The same week you told me Denver. Opal warned you 14 months ago. You told her to stay in her lane.
She looked at that page for a long time. A muscle moved in her jaw. The composure she wore like a blazer was coming apart at the seams.
I was at the airport. Carousel 4. I heard everything. I recorded it.
The color left her face in a way I had never witnessed. Not a flush, an actual draining, as though something behind her eyes had been permanently switched off.
The USB drive in your nightstand. The trust clause highlighted in yellow. A legal strategy.
How long have you known?
Long enough to be certain I was not wrong about any of it.
Did you ever want me to stay?
I wanted the woman I thought I married to stay. But that woman and your plan are not the same person. My attorney will file this week. You will want to retain someone quickly.
In the garage, I stood with my hands in my pockets, looking at the Mustang, not fighting anything, not holding anything back, simply finished, and learning what finished feels like. In the days that followed, Desiree became warm, meals she had not cooked in years. Tenderness deployed not from a change of heart, but from the recognition that charm was the last tool remaining.
She became warm again. Meals she had not cooked in years. Tenderness as a last tool.
The hardest part is that it looks precisely like what you always wanted the marriage to be. And a man who has loved genuinely knows the difference between warmth and strategy.
A man who is clear does not need to announce what he has already decided.
The launch event is Saturday. Clients, vendors, family. Will you come?
Yeah. Of course I will come.
The Mustang was almost finished. I could hear it in the engine, settled, even, like something remembering what it had been built to do. On the morning of the event, I stood in front of the mirror and tied my tie. Not for her, not for the room, for the man my father raised. The venue was the kind of space that made ambition look as though it had already succeeded. Exposed brick, track lighting, servers carrying trays, a geometric logo on the screen. Weston Drake worked the room the way certain men do. Practiced ease, a charm that opens most doors. He did not look at me when I walked in. In the third row sat Florence Renard, pearl earrings, silver hair, the particular authority of a woman who had spent decades watching people and had rarely been wrong. She met my eyes. She nodded once. Not warmly, not coldly, deliberately. The nod of a woman who had already made several assessments and was waiting for confirmation. Desiree spoke for 12 minutes about vision, community, and years of preparation. She was compelling. She had always known how to make a room believe.
I have been carrying something. The people in this room deserve to hear it from me.
I reached into my jacket and pressed play. The first sounds were ambient, carousel wheels, the mechanical hum of the belt. Then her voice, clear and completely unaware.
I love Marcus, but it is like loving a seatbelt. Safe, useful, not something you build dreams around. I stay for the credit score, the house. Once the business hits 12 months, I am gone. And Mama will understand once I explain it. She always comes around.
I pressed stop. 3 full seconds of silence followed, the kind that is not quiet at all, the kind where an entire room holds a single collective breath. Florence Renard stood. She was not physically imposing, but in that room she occupied every inch of space the way genuine moral authority does.
From this night forward, you are no longer my daughter.
She picked up her handbag. She walked down the aisle and out the door. And every person in that room understood exactly what had just been permanently withdrawn. Weston Drake moved toward the side exit. The measured smile was entirely absent. It had been replaced by the blank focus of a man calculating losses in real time. Opal sat near the back with both hands pressed over her mouth. She had known for over a year, and the cost of that silence was now visible to everyone. Desiree stood alone at the front. She did not collapse, but everything she had carried into that room was gone. The executive warmth, the assembled version of herself, gone. I held her gaze for a moment, not with triumph, not with coldness, with the quiet, finished recognition of a man who had loved genuinely and been answered with a plan. I walked out through the front door. The evening air was cold and clean. The city moved around me, continuous and indifferent. I walked to my truck at my normal pace.
I did not feel triumphant. I felt finished. Finished is quieter and more durable.
That night, I carried my clothes down the hallway to the spare bedroom. No announcement, no scene, just a man closing a door quietly behind him. The clock had started. The year of separation was quieter than I had imagined. 2 people inside a structure that had ended, maintaining its shape while waiting for the calendar to catch up. I worked, I wrote, I restored.
That kind of quiet labor is not retreat. It is rebuilding. Something real alongside something internal.
When the 12 months were complete, Howard filed. The documentation was thorough. The trust was sound. Her attorney advised that contesting it would cost more than it could recover.
She signed. I signed. It was done.
The work happened mostly in a garage with a Mustang, my father's tools, in the particular silence of a space where nothing needed to be performed.
My reputation rested on work I actually did. None of that needed external repair.
Opal came to my door on a March afternoon. She told me she had known more than she had said. She had been carrying the weight since the night of the event.
I knew more than I ever said, and for longer than I let on. I am sorry.
I appreciate you coming. I mean that. But I am done looking backward. I hope you find that's your one. I hope you find what you are looking for.
I closed the door gently and went back to the garage. Not with coldness, with completion. The way you close a chapter that has finally said everything it needed to say.
4 days after the event, Desiree filed a motion to challenge the family trust. The motion is not strong. Your father built a thorough foundation, but it requires a formal response. The foundation holds. I know it does.
I stood in the driveway in the April light with my coffee and looked up at the 2 oak trees. My father never got to see them fully grown, but he built the foundation they stood on. The Mustang was finished. Every line was true. The chrome caught the morning light exactly as it should when someone has given it the patience it requires. That same week, I noticed someone at the bakery on the corner. Auburn hair, gray-green eyes, a quiet stillness that asked nothing and offered something I could not yet name. We exchanged a small wave, nothing more. But the fact that I noticed that something inside me had opened enough to see a stranger clearly told me something important about where I was.
The genuine marker of recovery is not satisfaction at someone else's loss. It is your own life becoming engaging again.
I settled into the driver's seat. I felt the engine beneath me, smooth, even, exactly right, like something that had finally remembered what it was built to do. I backed out of the garage into the April morning. The oak trees stood at the corner. The street stretched ahead. The engine ran clean. Everything was ordinary. Everything was exactly right. The road opened ahead. Green fields, clear sky. A man driving the car his father had left him into a morning that was entirely his own.
No particular destination, just the open road and the engine running clean.
The city spread out around me on a bright April morning, entirely indifferent to one man finally feeling that the road ahead was genuinely and completely his.
A good man is not one who never gets fooled. He is one who does not become the worst version of himself in response. He does not chase consequences he cannot control. He goes back to the garage. He picks up the work. He shows up Thursday evening for the young man, counting on him to be there.
A kept promise is the simplest and most durable building material a life can be made from. Marcus never stopped keeping them, and the young man standing beside him was the proof.
If you love someone like that, a man who stays steady without needing credit, tell him this week. Tell him plainly, I see how you carry yourself. I see what it costs. I am proud of you. Those words cost nothing, and they are worth everything.
This story teaches something quiet. Integrity is not loud. It does not perform. It simply remains after everything built on pretense has come apart.
You are watching someone try to build something honest in a noisy world. That matters. Have you ever stayed loyal to someone who was already planning to leave? What did you do?
You are living in a world that rewards noise and speed. But the people who endure, the ones still standing when the room clears, all built themselves the same way, quietly.
Patience is not weakness. It is the decision to let truth arrive on its own schedule.
Your worth does not depend on whether the person beside you can see it. The quietest act of integrity you perform when no one is watching is the one that saves you. If this story found you at the right time, you already know why. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Not tomorrow, today. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one. These stories are built for people like you. Leave a comment. Tell me your story. I read every single one. Hit that bell so we keep building this together. You being here means something.
Thank you for staying until the end. That tells me something about who you are, and I am glad you are here.